Hi guys, John the Firearms Instructor, and we're answering viewers' questions today. And Johnny's going to read this, and we're going to answer it.
All right, so this is from Swid's wife, and she says, I'm going to try to get in and train with you very soon. Your advice to push with your dominant and pull with the other is so helpful to me. Best advice I've ever heard. Quick question. I tend to close one eye when I aim, and I saw that Heidi does the same thing. Is this okay as long as it's always how we do it? And then she also asked, how did she know that she had a jam, and how did she fix it?
Well, thank you. I hope you do come train with us. That's why we do all these videos. I'd love to see you, love to help you. I'm glad you tried the push and pull. That's awesome. That really helps you control the weapon. The question was, how do you... Oh, closing one eye.
Yeah.
So let me show you why you do that first. I think understanding why you close an eye will help you understand why it's probably not the best thing to do, but sometimes when you get started out, it's the only thing you can do. We have a dominant eye on our face, and your dominant eye wants to take over as much as possible. So when you watch Miss Johnson shoot, and most people, if I'm right-handed and right-eye dominant, they are going to push the weapon out in front of them and close an eye to get the most crispest,
Yeah, sure. The most crisp.
the most crisp sight picture they can. Now, is that bad doing it all the time? I wouldn't say it's bad. I would say you probably should not do it for the full reason that you're losing a large percentage of your peripheral view. And they've done studies when someone's in a high-stress situation, they are not going to pop eye or close an eye when they're running through their house. Now, this is very challenging for some people to learn to do this. And I've tried with Miss Johnson multiple ways. I gave her a pair of glasses with a dot on it. I've sanded off a pair of safety glasses and made it real foggy on her left side because she's right-eye dominant too. And we've done everything we can, but it's my wife, and I'm going to let her shoot the way she shoots because she outshoots me most of the time. Every time. Shut up, Johnny. So the concept would be, what I'm trying to get you to is if you can try to squint an eye and look at it. Look, I had to learn it all over again. When I got my glasses, which I had to get my glasses to be able to drive, that was the first time I ever started shooting with one eye closed again. And I didn't even realize I did it until a viewer said, you preached to us about keeping both eyes open and you're closing an eye. And I said, Johnny, I'm closing an eye. And he goes, oh, yeah, you've been closing an eye for about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now since you got your glasses. You didn't tell me, jackass. You should have told me. I'm looking like a fucking idiot up here. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. But Johnny didn't tell me. But I concentrated on more and more. Now I do it naturally to push it out in front of me and let my eye concentrate on it. And I squint the one eye, but it still gives me the ability to have the full field of view. And I would say that's probably your best solution, is to try to take the target in really, really short, 3 yards or less, get a paper plate, and start trying to shoot with both eyes open, trying to impact the paper plate as best you can. Or you could try the dot drill, which is a little piece of paper over top of your eye on your, you look silly at the range, but you're working on your dominant eye. And just kind of, you could do it at the house, just kind of visually put it up in front of you and see it. Put it in front of you and see it. And the more you see it, the easier it becomes for you. So that's kind of, I hope they answer that question for you. I'm not going to say it's bad, but you need to work to getting both eyes open if you can. So, Swid's
wife.
Swid's wife, okay.
And the second part
was jams, right? How did Heidi know it was jammed? Well, simply, when she went to pull the trigger, it wasn't firing. But from behind, and I don't know if you heard me, I said, we got a jam here. Because I'm seeing the back of the firearm. I'm always paying attention to the back of the firearm. And if you remember your firearm, it looked like this. See this is not in battery. It's not closed all the way up. And I set this drill up. Now this gun has got a magazine in it, and this is the way it would normally happen. Now, how do we clear a jam? Is we need to identify what kind of jam it is first. This is a double feed. Now, help me, John. Can I get it in there?
Yeah, here.
So
This way.
what I want to do is I want to show you there's a round in the barrel,
Yep.
and there's a round pushing up on that round.
Mm-hmm.
And that puts a lot of leverage on everything. And when I go to rack it back, try to get it out, it ain't going to come out. It ain't coming out because now this round in this round in the magazine is up. So what do we have to do? Well, the very first thing we need to do is we need to drop the magazine. But I think if I drop this magazine right now, it's not going to come out because there's pressure on this. There's pressure on the magazine pushing up on this bullet, pushing on that, and it's causing it to bind a little bit. So what we need to do is we need to get this slide back and push the magazine button at the same time. So what we try to do is we kind of keep our finger off the trigger, push back, take some of the pressure off, and there it went.
That flew out.
There it went. And that's kind of where that is, because that double feed is one of those things that's very common, especially when someone loads a magazine and doesn't seat one of the rounds. See how that round's a little further? It could be seated in a little bit more. So when you watch guys at the range tapping like that, they're trying to seat all the rounds in a magazine. Just like changing the tire, ladies and gentlemen, we don't practice jams too much because we have to set them up ourselves. So when we're in a training class with a bunch of people and we have a jam, we bring everybody together to explain it to you and show you how to fix it, because that's truly the only way to do that. So that jam was pretty easy to solve. Now, what Miss Johnson had wasn't that. Miss Johnson had the gun was not in battery all the way, and she was not understanding what happened. It may have had, I don't remember that video exactly. It may have had she had it fired, but it didn't eject the round exactly. So what Miss Johnson did was she went to go push the trigger, and it didn't work. And all she did was tap, rack, and got back into the gunfight. That's kind of what we kind of recommend, because there are, no matter what manufacturer you do, very uncommon, but there could be a shot that just doesn't fire. It just goes click, and that's what happened to Miss Johnson. It just went click. So she got it out there as quick as possible. That's the tap rack system. Basically, you're tapping the bottom, make sure the magazine's in, because that's one of the problems. A lot of times people put a magazine in, but not put it all the way in. And if you don't have it all the way in when you go to rack it, it's not pulling one off the magazine. So you want to make sure that's in. And I guess the last one would be what would be considered a stovepipe. And it kind of looks like that. Now the stovepipe is an odd one. I don't know. I can't really explain to you how this happens. I know the EEZ sometimes have this happen to them as well. But this is an easy one to do, because all you got to do here is to kind of pop it out with your hand. Just pull it back out, and it slaps out and closes in. And if you look, this had a dummy round in it, and it went into battery after that point. But anytime you have any kind of system or any kind of racking or any kind of jam that you don't know you understand or you can't figure out, please get some help. Because one of the most important things about a firearm, and this is very important, we need to make sure you get your head around, is a firearm is always loaded. And if a firearm's always loaded, where's your finger not going to be? Your finger's not going to be on the trigger. What are you not going to do with it? You're not going to point it down. You're not going to point it in any direction except down range. And you're going to know your target and what's beyond. The most important thing about a firearm is it's always loaded. And what makes the gun go bang? You do with your finger on the trigger. Cool thing about these little things like that, they can be practiced. You saw I set that up. Not the easiest thing to do, but what you can do is if you're at the range with a friend or a pal, you can have him load your magazines and maybe put a dummy round in here or there. I've done a video on that. John, you want to attach that video to it?
I can attach that.
And then you can show the hidden secret round. So what I had Johnny do was he loaded a bunch of rounds for me, but put a dead one in there somewhere along the line. So when I went to go shoot it, the gun would not fire, and I had to rack it to get it out of there. And that was sort of one of those trying to keep me from anticipating the recoil is what it was really about. But he can do the same thing with getting a jam out of there, because that tap rack is very important, because a lot of times when people put a magazine, and I always teach you guys that when you put your magazine in, you want to seat it and feel it. Seat it and feel it. If I'm putting it in and it's not all the way in, then when I go to rack it, it's going to come out of there, right? It's going to rack it. That's the key thing. But if I had this thing in here, and I didn't seat it, and I closed it, it didn't put one in, because the magazine's not in. So when you pop that in, then rack the slide, that puts one in the chamber. Racking the slide is very important. You saw what I did there when I racked that slide. I pulled it hard. That's how you do it. Think about when you're shooting your pistol. That slide's going back so fast you can hardly see it. You can't rack it fast enough. How you jam a gun, thank you, Johnny, is when you slowly rack the slide. Now, I get it, ladies. You're really concerned about pinching yourself, so you go put the magazine really slow, and you go up here and you pull it back, and you let it go.
That's exactly what Mom's did in the video.
You see that right there?
That's the same exact jam as the video.
You see that right there? That was something. I'm surprised Mom's did that.
Yeah.
It may have been a dry gun.
It was.
Mom
yeah.
didn't slowly rack
it. Was
it.
in between shots, so
Oh,
it wasn't
yeah.
the rack that did it.
But the gun tells you everything you need to know. Look right here. Look the bead up front here. Look right here. Now, how do we solve this? Watch this. What caused that? You not racking the slide properly. I hope these tips help you. I hope they help just you, but everyone else too. And I want to make sure you understand that anytime you guys send a question to us, we're going to do our best to answer them. Because a lot of times you're new to this and you seem kind of worried that you're going to say something stupid. And nobody in the comments below are going to do that, because I block them at that point in time. We're here for you. We're here for your entertainment. We're here for your education. We're here for you to become more and more proficient with a pistol. And there is no dumb questions when it comes to safety and firearms. Until next time, guys, I love you. God bless. Be safe. And remember, you are your first line of defense. Don't forget about our Tuesday night live. Tomorrow night's going to be a good one. Johnny's working on it right now. And we appreciate you being here. We'll see you again.